Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com and we're here today live. And are you guys ready to rumble? Leave a comment down in the chat because man, I have been up since 3:30 a.m. this morning getting ready for this live stream, and I want to see a little enthusiasm. If you guys aren't going to rumble, we'll just end it right here. So let's see. Yes, Larry says yes. The Wise Ninja, yes. Brian, go time. BBF, let's rumble. That's what I want to see. Hey guys, 3:30 a.m. I had to get coffee, and not just coffee, but a coffee lineup. So do you want to see my coffee lineup that will be fueling this live stream? Let's see. David is from Louisville, Texas. Christopher from Stephen. Let's see. Hasib, hello. Quaternion, one of our old time guys here, one of our guys that's been with us for a long time. Welcome, Quaternion. Donkey is ready to rumble. Jonathan is ready to rumble. VT is always up for a good rumble. Daryl, yay. Okay, Navneeth, great to have you here. Jonathan, that is good. Okay, sure. All right. Hi there. Okay, Prezek, Catholic, Wise Ninja, Larry, Hootie. Okay, man, we have got a great lineup coming in. And so let me try to keep giving you guys shout outs. Peter, hello. Dirthik, hello. Muhammad from Reno, Nevada, great. Sitham, sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right, but these things are coming through fast. Nate, Shuttlepod1, welcome back. Donkey from Philadelphia, okay, that is great. You guys notice I have a little bit of a storm going on back behind me. It is quite a thunderstorm that has come through, and so not sure what's going to happen here in the background, but we've got some lightning and we've got some rain coming through. We've got Mike in the house, Kevin, JB Programmer, Mips Monster, Mike, Bill, Tech Priest, Mohammed, Kevin. Great, guys. So I see a lot of our old familiar faces and I see some new guys in. Welcome to both of you. Okay, while you guys are checking in, do you want to see my coffee lineup? Because like I say, getting up at 3:30 in the morning, we're going to have some jet fuel. We're going to have to, hey, Benoit, one of our newer guys, great to see you. Been enjoying seeing your comments. Wow, we got some lightning back there. Do you want to see my jet fuel lineup for this morning? Okay, yep, Jonathan, no sugar, no sweetener, none needed. Okay, let's see the coffee lineup. Let's come over here. So again, let me get out of your way. I started at 3:30 this morning with a creamy cappuccino. That was a triple espresso and then 100% heavy cream. I get the cream from a local dairy here. It's locally produced, and then I steam the cream, and then I put 3 espressos on it. So I've been working on this one since about 3:30 in the morning. But because today we're really going to be rumbling, we have got this supplementary here, which is a backup creamy cappuccino. And then to finish the morning out, we have a triple espresso iced coffee. So there we go. Okay, let's see. We got some questions coming in. Sir, what time do you normally wake up and sleep? I get up at 5 a.m. every morning, except when I have a live stream, something like this. When I have something like this, I get up earlier, but normally I get up at 5 and I am usually in bed by about 9. So I'm an early riser, and that is what I do. Let's go back and see this. Okay. I see you guys are still checking in. Want to welcome everyone. And what we are going to talk about today is we are going to talk about artificial intelligence, okay? And this is really probably a pretty controversial issue because I see 2 camps out there. I see the camp that view that artificial intelligence is going to usher in a new utopian society where the computer does all the work and then we as humans can kind of relax and do higher level things like art or literature or something like that, that it's just going to be a new utopia as we unleash the power of artificial intelligence. Now, the second group, though, is quite different Instead of viewing a utopian future, they view a dystopian future. A dystopian future where there's no individual liberty, no individual freedom. We're sort of like stuck and controlled in this matrix, and just really like a very, very dark future versus a very, very bright future. So I want to kind of dig into this, and I don't want to just go and start parroting these people or parroting these people. I want us to kind of look at it and think analytically to hopefully what will be a logical conclusion. And how do we do this? I think we do this by looking at history. And this is not the first time that something new has come along. And these big new things that come along, there is a name for them. They are called disruptive technologies because they disrupt the way things are done. So what is a disruptive technology? A disruptive technology is a new technology or innovation that significantly changes or disrupts a market or industry or economy. It introduces a new way of doing things that topples the norms and topples the old way. So normally you think of disruption as being a bad thing, but disruption can be a good thing. You can come in and shake things up, and then something better can come out of it. So what we're going to want to do is, okay, we've got people, let's see, we've got some people, okay, you guys say that the video froze. Okay. Is anybody else having a frozen video? I'm showing things are okay on this end. So it looks like we've got a utopia. It says we've got a utopia. It says, okay, so we're seeing people a little bit more talking about utopia. But what I want to do is let's go back and let's look at disruptive technologies that have existed in the past. Let's look at disruptive technologies that have existed in the past, and let's see what we can learn from them, and let's see if AI is unfolding in the same way that disruptive industries in the past were disruptive technologies. So we're talking about the last 125 years. And so, okay, yeah, there's lightning over my back shoulder, and you can see rain over my back shoulder. I can also show you my front yard. You can see that there's a rain and fog out there. This is looking out towards the river. Okay. So let's talk about a disruptive technology of about 125 years ago. 125 years ago, people got around with horses and buggies, okay? And with a horse and buggy, you could interact in a circle of about 5 miles, right? Horse goes about 5 miles an hour. You could take an hour to get somewhere, take an hour to get home. Horse and buggy, your circle of interaction, your circle of influence was typically about 5 miles. Then came the car. Okay, with the car, your circle of influence or your circle of interaction was between 50 and 500 miles, right? You could go a lot further. People, even with these early cars, they could drive across the country. So it very much was a very large disruption in transportation. But now we have to say, was it a good disruption or was it a bad disruption? There were winners and losers. Were there more winners or were there more losers? Well, the first thing that you could see from the automotive industry is it created jobs. It created a whole lot of jobs because it took people to build the cars. And so all of a sudden, there were factory jobs for people building the cars. And actually, Henry Ford was a very, very generous man. And so his factories were not sweatshops. He treated those people that worked for him very well. And so it was not just a job, it was a good career. And so there were factory jobs that were created to make the cars. Then a second industry developed, and that was the job of repairing cars. So you had the car and people started owning cars. Then those cars were breaking down and the cars were all over the country. So all over the country, you had jobs of people repairing the cars. So you had large numbers of centralized jobs where the factories were, and then distributed across the country were these repair shops, okay? Now, the thing was that not only did it create jobs, but it created opportunities. because a person who could repair cars could not only get a job at a shop, but he could start his own shop. In a little rural area, he could start a car repair shop. So not only were jobs being created, but businesses and opportunities were being created. So you had jobs, you had businesses, you had opportunities, and those were benefiting the common folk. Now, besides that, then what it did was it created entirely new industries. Besides building cars, now all of a sudden you needed a large amount of gasoline. You needed energy, right? Cars needed gasoline. So what happened is oil and gas exploration exploded. And those oil and gas exploration and development jobs tended to be very high-paying jobs. And so now you had not just people building cars, you not just had people repairing cars, but you had people out looking for oil, drilling for oil. Then once you got the oil, what did you need? You needed refineries. And so you had huge refineries that were built. So construction jobs to build the refineries, and then high-paying jobs working in the refinery. And so I think what you can kind of see is that this was really benefiting. And yeah, there were people like Henry Ford that got very, very rich, but the common man had a high-paying job that the people in these jobs, they could have one income, dad working, mom raising the kids, and that dad could support a family, could own a house, could own a car. It's like the quality of life elevated in the country. Now this oil and gas industry, it not just generated jobs and wealth, but it also generated opportunities, because a little guy in a rural area, he could start a gas station, right? He could start a gas station and he could sell the gasoline. He could do service on the car, and all of a sudden he had a business. Now, what does he need? He needs some helpers, and maybe he's hiring some young guys, some high school kids. So you see, it was sort of like this, what I call a virtuous circle, a virtuous cycle. The disruptive technology of automobiles, it created jobs, it created opportunity, it created wealth, and then finally, what did it do? It circled back around and created demand. So this guy that started his gas station, now he wants a car. This guy that's working in the factory, now he wants a car. So the loop is closed in that it generated wealth and opportunity, which generated demand for the car. And so then the whole thing just cycles up. The whole thing just cycles up. So if you look at the disruptive technology of automobiles, did it lead to a utopian or a dystopian situation? Really, it was kind of utopian. Now, there were a few blacksmiths. You didn't need blacksmiths anymore, and you didn't need people making buggy whips anymore. But really, you didn't come up with a mass destruction of the blacksmith industry. What really happened is the people that were blacksmiths, they kind of continued to be blacksmiths because there were still people with horses and farmers, and they could do other things. They could repair and fix things. And what sort of just happened is the young people stopped going into the blacksmith industry and started going into other industries. So it was a smooth transition that sort of lifted all boats. And so this disruptive technology number one, automotive, it turned out to be more utopian. Okay, disruptive industry number two was computers and information technology. Okay, and yeah, when this came out, there were a lot of jobs that were disruptive, like, let's say the guy who repaired typewriters, the typewriters went away pretty quickly. And what really went away was a lot of the clerical jobs. So a lot of the clerical jobs went away. A lot of the typewriter repair people went away. So there were a lot of people that were displaced. But if you look at it, I would say that with computers and information technology, many more opportunities were created than opportunities destroyed. And I'm not talking about opportunities for the elite, the high-end people. Certainly a lot of elites got rich on computers and information technology, but it opened opportunities for the small guy. And the things that I saw were, as we were emerging into computers and internet in the mid to late 80s, I saw a lot of people develop home businesses based on eBay. Things that used to be a little hobby for them, all of a sudden they could have a nationwide or global audience for what it was that they were creating or collecting. I knew one guy, he was kind of an eclectic guy, but he loved slide rules. You know, the little slide rules that you used to use to calculate things, you know, to do calculations. He really loved those things, and he kind of collected them. Well, when eBay opened up, he put a few on eBay because he wanted to sell them. Some of these things were many thousands of dollars, so he would sell one so he could buy other ones. And then he kind of got this extremely profitable eBay business based on the eclectic topic of slide rules. Then from that, he started his own website where he sort of showed what the different types of slide rules were. And then he was getting advertising revenue from his little eclectic slide rule website. And then instead of selling things on eBay, he started selling them on his website. And it ended up, this crazy little hobby he had, he was generating more income on that than what he was on his real job in the engineering world. And so what I saw is there were all types of things people were doing on eBay. I knew a guy, he would like buy an atlas, like let's say a map atlas from the 1850s, 1870s. Maybe that atlas would have 200 maps in it, 200 large full-scale maps. And then what he would do is he would cut the map out, let's say a map of, Texas in 1870 or something like that. And then he would sell that map on eBay. He bought the atlas for, let's say, $200, but that one map he could sell for $150, and a guy from Texas would buy that one, a guy from Oklahoma would buy this one, and so then very quickly he could sell the maps, and he was making a fortune buying books like atlases, taking them apart and selling them one page at a time. And I just can't tell you the variety of home businesses that I saw people develop. Now, for some people, it was a side hustle. They still kept their day job. And then in the evening, they could almost match their income from the day job doing these things like eBay. Then the other opportunity that came up is these guys would develop their own websites because you could have something like Front Page, and without a lot of technical expertise, you could develop a website. Then besides developing their own website, they started developing websites for other people. And so there were just all of these people who suddenly were in the IT business developing websites. And besides the website design, there were also seemed like a lot of people just kind of became IT free agents, like that guy that used to repair your TV. Well, he'd say, this is just another electronic thing, and he started repairing computers or keeping your computer running. And so there were just a cottage industry of people in local areas who kind of became IT support people for the general population. So what we saw is that as computers and the internet and information technology began to emerge, first of all, it created jobs, then it created opportunity, and then that opportunity led to wealth. Okay. And now this wealth, there's this guy that's working for a company as an IT guy. There's this guy being a freelancer. There's this guy with an eBay business. What that started doing is generating wealth. And then that wealth led to other things. The guy going to his high paying IT job, he'd stop and he would drop $4 or $5 on a coffee. So then all of a sudden you had new industries emerge like Starbucks. If you go back to my father's generation, he would have never dreamed that somebody would drop $5 on a coffee. But as people became affluent based on these IT type jobs and industries, then it created opportunities because there was wealth, and it created demand for nice things like an expensive coffee or a marble slab ice cream or an Einstein bagel. And then even those jobs, even those industries created entry-level jobs where a guy that maybe would be able to make $4 or $5 an hour could go to Starbucks and could make $20 an hour. Okay, and so some of those entry-level jobs, they were paying really, really well. And so what happened is it generated jobs, it generated opportunity, it generated wealth, and it generated good, high-paying entry-level jobs. And so I really see there were clerical jobs that were eliminated, but those people doing those clerical jobs, they could come up and then suddenly they could start doing something like an eBay business. And those eBay and website development, it didn't take a whole lot of technical skill. A normal person could go in and figure out how to do those things. And so when I look at computers and IT, I have to say that it was definitely a utopian outcome, not a dystopian outcome. The few people that were displaced had much opportunity to pursue other things, and the overall opportunity and quality of life and wealth dramatically increased across the board. Okay, guys, let me stop there. We're ready to start talking about AI. Okay, we're ready to start talking about AI, but let me see if I can get some questions or some comments. I can't go back and look at the comments you've made in the last 15 minutes as I've been talking, but you guys go ahead now and start ramping up some questions or comments. Do you see what a disruptive technology is? Do you see the analogy between what we're looking at today, something completely disruptive, AI, and the example of automotive and the example of information technology or computers? Let me know, is the connection making sense? So I'm looking for some comments down. Let's see, guys. Come on, comments. All right, let's see if we can get some comments here. Oops, I almost drank coffee number 2. Okay. AI will create as many jobs for humans as the automobile did. PPF, that is one of the funniest things that I've ever heard, and I don't want to tip my hand, but it might be very, very insightful that AI will create as many jobs for humans as the automobile did for the horse, and that is very insightful. Okay, good. We get a comment. It's a good explanation. Is the point for AI to create more jobs or to take? Well, that, Armand, that is the question today. That is the question. Now, it's not what whoever they are trying to do. It's what is going to happen. We have this new thing, and it's going to shake things up. And what's the world going to look like after it shakes it up? 100% guaranteed it's going to shake things up. But then what emerges? Something good or something bad? Let's see, will catching up with fast evolving AI not stress out our kids? That's a good question. We're going to talk about that. Love the Fusion 360. Thanks, Dustin. Hey, Andrew, welcome. Well, Andrew, you will see a revolution here with the AI. Does the AI disruption seem different to you than the previous revolutions? Yeah, Bill. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Right. I talked about this virtuous cycle that developed, that yes, people were being displaced, but as they were being displaced, opportunity was created, and the opportunity outweighed the displacement, which led to a new level of wealth, which then led to wide-scale prosperity. Okay, but now the question now with AI is, what's going to win, the displacement or the opportunity? And that's what we are going to be looking for. Brian says, let's see, VT, we need to develop the ability to not fight AI, but to make intelligent use of it. Brian, fighting AI is futile. Okay, JB, but won't the use of AI eventually be controlled? Don't know. We don't know that yet. AI won't take your job. People using AI will take your job. Dustin, I want to talk about that in a little bit more detail. Okay, I'm going to talk about that point in a little bit more detail. Let's see. Should one continue studying machine learning or electronics, or will that knowledge be obsolete soon? Daniel, I'm going to talk about that. That's one of the topics I'm going on. Okay, Dr. Dave, do hands-on skills. And Dr. Dave, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. That's exactly what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about your hands. Okay, so let's go on in and let's look at AI. Okay, so the question with AI is, the bottom line is AI is going to be more disruptive than any of these other technologies. So the auto industry shook things. The computer IT industry shook things, but the shaking that is coming from AI is much more massive than those other two. And the thing is, it will be able to do many jobs, if not most jobs, better than a human. Okay, and I'll show you what I'm meaning with that here in a minute. And the difference is, it's not going to just hit low skill jobs. It's going to hit jobs across the board. Okay, so like if you think of the car, who really got hit with the car? Well, it was the blacksmith and the guy making the buggy whips. Who got hit with computers and IT? The secretaries and the clerical people and the people who took paper and put it in files and the people that typed, things like that. But that was sort of a lower end. And I'm not saying that to be pejorative or insulting, but it was on the skill level, it was at the lower level that was impacted. But, you didn't think, well, like, are lawyers going to be impacted or doctors or all that sort of stuff? But I think that AI is going to be much, much more disruptive. And what I can almost see is like just this monster that starts eating itself, that starts eating its tail. And let me see if I can kind of explain to you what I am talking about. We're very familiar with ChatGPT. If you played with it, it's pretty incredible what it can do and what it can tell you and what it can help you with. But besides ChatGPT and the other associated textual-based AI engines, there's also these graphic-based AI engines where I can just give a text of what I want and it can generate it, even something that is a realistic, really looks like a human photograph. Okay, it can generate photographs of almost anything. And then it can generate graphic arts, and then it can generate photorealistic art. So you could say, like, give me a photorealistic photograph of a penguin in a top hat with glasses and a cane. And it would make something that really looks like a photograph of that. So if we look at the industry of graphic arts, there's probably 1 million jobs associated with graphic arts, because anything you're going to do, you need graphics. Like, right, if you're going to sell a product, if you're going to have a marketing campaign, whatever you're going to do, you need good graphics. And it's the good graphics, the snappy graphics, that catch people's attention. And there's a huge number of jobs there, and there's a huge amount of money that is spent on graphics. Now, the two things you can do with graphics, there's graphic libraries, and if you just want to run out and grab something, you can license an image, and you can go to stock libraries, image libraries, and depending on your application, you can license an existing image, which might be a photograph or artwork or a drawing or whatever. You could license it for $15 to $500, depending on your application. If you want an artist to create an image for you, it's going to be between $500 and $5,000. And so, graphics are really important, and there's a lot of people that make a living at that. But the thing is, with AI, it generates stunning graphics free. So rather than me tell the graphic artist, I want a photorealistic image of a dapper rat with glasses and a top hat and a tuxedo and a cane sipping some tea for a campaign that I'm doing for a new tea brand that I am releasing. I want this iconic image to capture people's attention. Well, for me to have a graphic artist do that, it might be $5,000 and it might take some time. Maybe they've got a backlog and it might take me a few months to where I could just type that into one of these graphic engines, these art engines, and I could have it immediately. Do you see how disruptive this is going to be for the graphics art industry? Now, what you could say is, let's say that you've got a marketing company, and let's say that they have a staff of 5 or 10 graphic artists who will either go out and find images for them to use or create images. And now instead of needing those 5 or 10, you just need one to input prompts into one of these AI engines, okay? Just enter the prompts. And then all of a sudden the guy that is asking for the graphic arts, he says, I don't even need this guy. I can put the prompt in myself. It's no, I'm telling him what I want. I can just tell AI what I want. And then even the guy that is inputting the prompts into AI, he's not needed, because now the marketing company, they get rid of their entire graphic arts department. And then what do? They cut their costs, and all of these people are displaced, and they can't go out and get deep machine learning jobs because those are very, very high skill jobs. And they're out here in this pool of people that we're going to call the displaced. They're displaced. Okay, now the marketing company, they're all excited because, wow, we just cut our cost. Okay. But what they don't see is that AI, ChatGPT can do a marketing campaign. Right now, you can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want you to do a marketing campaign for me. Okay, I want you to do a marketing campaign for me around this. I want jingles, I want slogans, I want this, I want that. Give me a strategy. And then it'll come up with really, really good stuff. And, I've been in a lot of businesses and I've done this sort of stuff. I look at this stuff generated by ChatGPT. It's really good. So now what we find is not just the marketing company felt good because they laid off the graphic artist, but now the marketing company itself is being displaced, because let's think of a business that is a travel agency business and they want to campaign for the spring cruise, ship cruise season. And rather than going to that marketing company for their marketing campaign, they go to AI, and now the entire marketing company has been displaced. So now this pool of displaced people just got bigger. So that's what I mean, the monster eating its tail. You feel good because you got rid of your graphic arts people, but now you've found that now you're the next one up to be gotten rid of. And so this travel agency, they're doing their own marketing campaigns. Okay, now they think, yes, I got rid of the marketing company and now I'm selling cruises on my own. But now all of a sudden with AI, you could go to AI and you say, design my dream vacation, along with find me the best prices on tickets and this. And then that AI could do a much, much better job. That AI could do a much, much better job than what the travel agency was. So do you see how it is like dominoes falling? The clerical person is let go, then the graphic artist person is let go, then the marketing company isn't needed, then the travel agency isn't needed. So now this group of displaced people is getting enormous. Okay. Now with something like ChatGPT, how many people are needed to run that? Handfuls, right? So it's not like all of a sudden we have this huge opportunity of, people that used to draw pictures of rats and top hats now are going to implement deep learning algorithms. No, that's not going to happen. So I see this crumbling that starts at one point, but it's like you're pulling a thread, and this whole tapestry is kind of coming apart. Now, also, so we've talked about graphic artists, we've talked about We've talked about marketing, things like the legal system. What does a lawyer do? And I'm not disparaging lawyers, but lawyers in law school, they learn and they memorize a huge amount of information. So the core thing that a lawyer does is he has this huge knowledge base in his head. He or she has this huge knowledge base in their head. And what they don't know, they have a card catalog of these are the things I know, and these things I don't know, I have a card catalog of where I would look for the answer. And so they are like a huge, amazing, incredible walking database. But with AI has an infinite capacity for knowledge, and information. And if you look at ChatGPT, it really can very logically analyze things. And so I think the legal profession is going to be turned upside down. Now, you will have to have the gatekeeper that is the actual lawyer, but you're not going to need 20 lawyers and law clerks to be doing the research. And so, you could look at a 50x or 100x reduction in the need for high-end experts like lawyers, because a smaller number of people could get the job done. And I think in the medical community, you're going to see the same thing, that like if you think of your general practitioner, what did he do? He went to med school and college for like 8 years, and it was like the lawyer. He put this incredible amount of knowledge in his head. So you come in, you describe symptoms, he makes connections with his database, and what does he almost do? He sends you for blood work, or he sends you for imaging work, whether it's an X-ray or an ultrasound or an MRI. So you listen to the symptoms, you send for tests, and then when the test comes back, that maps onto like a pharmaceutical or something. You're really talking about that being done maybe better by AI than by a human. And so, instead of having all of these general practitioners, that initial interaction with the medical system could come with a person with a much lower, I don't mean lower in a bad way, but a much more limited education, like a nurse or a nurse practitioner could ask you what's wrong and then type your symptoms in and then kind of guide you through the process. So I think it's going to be very, very disruptive on the medical system as well. It's going to be very, very disruptive on the medical system as well. Now, the other thing is that if you look at ChatGPT, the only thing, ChatGPT is a linguistic model. It is a model based on words. So when you type in words, like if you start a certain number of words, it knows like all the words that have ever been written, and it looks for that, and then it kind of like finishes the sentence for you. As you could sort of think about it like that. What you're talking about, it's heard people talk about, and then it takes those things that it's heard people talk about, and then it crafts a good answer to give back to you based on knowing what everyone ever said who talked about that topic. So it's, you can imagine that it can write marketing campaigns, it can write children's books, it can generate song lyrics, it can write poems. That's natural for a word-based linguistic AI model. But the surprising thing is it can work math problems, even though it wasn't designed to work math problems. But what it does is it reads everything that was ever written, and it says, I remember this guy was talking about how to factor an equation, and here's what he talked about factoring the equation, and this one looks like what he's asking for. So you see, he is solving math problems using words. But if you have enough words that you've learned, you can map math onto, math solutions onto a word problem. And so it's kind of surprising. And even more surprising is coding. Okay, ChatGPT was not designed to write code, but it read so much stuff. It did read these things that were lines of code, and it sort of processed them, and it can actually write code for you. And it can write some pretty incredible code. And I have one of my former students, and he works for one of the largest instrumentation companies in the United States. And what they do is they build test instruments. They have software that implements solutions on test instruments where you're doing instrument control. And then they have consulting services where they will go in and for your particular testing need, they will develop testing software and algorithms to do the testing that you need. And what my former student does is he is the expert on developing the algorithms for the testing algorithms, and then he goes out and sells those test algorithm development services to their customer base. And what he said is they're guys, and this is not like Python and C and a mainstream thing. This is this eclectic skill of instrument control. And he said they started putting problems into ChatGPT, and it was giving them solutions, and it was giving them good solutions. And sometimes it was giving them solutions that were better than their solutions. Now, initially, the guy working there is thinking, oh, great, look at this. I've got this tool and it'll help me do my job. It'll help you do your job? Or did you just make yourself obsolete? Because if you can type it in, a manager could just come in and type in all the problems and then come up with the code. Well, then maybe this instrument company, they're all excited. Well, we don't need all these engineers anymore. But sooner or later, the guy at that company is going to figure out, hey, I can type the prompt into ChatGPT just as well as the guy at the instrument company can. And so then all of a sudden, that whole sector joins what? This group of obsolete. And then the guy that is needing the testing service, he's all excited. But what is the danger at this point? This group of displaced people has become so large that we're in danger of crushing demand. We are crushing demand because these displaced people are so great. We don't have customers for these products that we're developing. We don't have people that will drop $5, $10, $15 for an expensive coffee or a bagel or an ice cream. So you reach a point that the scales tip the other way, and what you have done is you have destroyed opportunity, and you have destroyed wealth, and you have destroyed jobs, and now you have this enormous group of displaced people, and now even the companies that are making something, they've crushed. The customer base has been crushed. And then it's really kind of hard. It's really actually hard to even imagine what is going to happen. And this is just from ChatGPT. This is just from ChatGPT, which is a linguistic, a word-based artificial intelligence engine. Now, I want you to think about this. Think about GitHub. We all love GitHub. You can go there and you can download code or you can put your code up. But if you think almost all software that has ever been written in the face of the earth is on GitHub. Either it or something very similar to it. So there's very few things in the world of software that don't in one form or another exist on GitHub. Well, what happened a couple of years ago? Microsoft bought GitHub. So what we thought was a free place to store our software has now perhaps become a training set for an AI software engine that will blow away what any human programmer could do. Because rather than training on Reddit, where people are talking about a program, or Stack Overflow, where people are talking about a program, it's training on the actual code, which is commented and which has support documents, and it's learning genuinely how to solve problems and how to code. So as guys that might be working in the software development arena, what is the future there, right? ChatGPT was just the opening salvo, and now we're going to be training on code. Also, there's something that is called Wolfram or Mathematica, and basically even before doing a lot of artificial intelligence, it could solve any math problem. And they actually reduced it down to something as an app on a phone where you could take a picture of a math problem and it could solve it for you, putting the steps in. And this has just become rampantly used by high school students who don't do their math anymore. They just take pictures and have it and then copy the steps down. And so, the ability to combine something like Wolfram and Mathematica with an AI front end, that is going to be incredibly disruptive. So do you see what I'm talking about? We're not just talking about the clerical people and the paper shufflers. We're talking about lawyers. We're talking about doctors. We're talking about engineers. We're talking about scientists. And how big is this glob of people that are going to be moved from careers into this other category, which is going to be called the displaced people? Okay, guys, I have not been able to keep up with the comments. So if you made a comment, make it again before, but tell me what you're thinking. Yeah, like I could sit here and imagine, oh, wow, ChatGPT is going to do everything for me, But then how do I justify my existence? Like, how do I say, how do I find my place in the world? Okay, so let's get some comments here. Let's get some comments here. Okay, will AI allow us to live forever? No, it will not, but it will probably promise you that. It will probably promise you immortality if you do some sort of thing, but I'm having no part of it, okay? People are already less able to learn. Yeah, people are less able to learn, particularly math. We've got a generation of people now that are not able to do math. You're going to get bored eventually. Okay, I'm thinking I'm not worried about AI taking over. I'm worried about corporations taking over. Well, I think corporations already have taken over, but I think the AI will allow them to create a more oppressive system, a more tight-knit control system is going to emerge from all of this. Okay, Larry says your thinking is along my own thoughts. Karthik, how do I compete with AI given the fact that it is evolving so fast? I will talk about. That's a good question, Karthik. Okay, none of us can. We will be free to spend our time in leisure pursuits. BBF, that would be the optimistic view, but there's also kind of the dystopian view that'll go with that, and we'll talk about that. Okay, do you think it's like the people who refused to use Wikipedia earlier and now it's accessible? I think it goes a lot beyond that. Do you think universal basic income? All right, so yeah, okay, let's go ahead and move into that. So what do we have? I think that it could be possible that through the existing AI systems and the AI systems that I see on the horizon in the next, say, 1 to 5 years, I could imagine that could, eliminate 80 to 95% of the workforce. Either there's different ways it could eliminate it. One way is it could do the job better than you can, so you are no longer needed. You become one of these displaced people. The other thing is that, like, let's think of, Starbucks. Starbucks, they used to have the barista with the grinder and tamper, and they would make you a classic handcrafted cappuccino. But then at some point, there's a machine back there, and they're just hitting the button. They're hitting the button, and the machine automatically makes the coffee. What is the next logical step? The next logical step is just kiosks. If that guy behind the counter can press the buttons, I can press the buttons, or I could just tell it through AI. I can tell it the coffee I want, and it can fabricate the perfect coffee with this automated coffee machine. So the kind of idea of the coffee shop could very quickly just be replaced with, rather than having 20 people work there, have one person that can manage 10 kiosks, and basically one person displace hundreds of people in the coffee industry. So we can be replaced because it can do our job better than we can. And it can also replace us because it destroys demand. if all these people are displaced, there's not going to be people that can pay $5 to $20 for a coffee. So even though these people thought they were smart by getting rid of people, you've crushed your customers where there is not a population that can afford expensive coffees or expensive ice creams or nice things like that. And so that is what is possibly likely going to happen, is you end up with 80 to 95% of the people displaced over here into this group. Now, what do? Do you let them starve to death? No, because people get ornery, when they don't have what they need. And then that is the formula for revolution, or maybe not revolution, but more like chaos, protest in the streets, burning, turning over cars, breaking out windows and things like that. And so I think that what you've got to do is you've got to keep these people calm. And I think the way that you do that is that probably what they're going to introduce is a universal basic income where everyone sort of gets this basic income. And it's going to be this thing that you hear a lot that the elites say, like, you're going to own nothing and be happy. Okay. And then I think you're going to distract people. You're going to keep them occupied with sort of mindless activities. You're going to keep them occupied. You're going to make available to this 80 to 95% of the people, you're going to make available to them alcohol, pornography, drugs, video games, and things that keep them busy and keep them kind of sedated where they're not out burning things in the street. And then probably you're going to have like Walmarts are going to become, instead of a place you go in and shop, what you're going to have is they're going to be food distribution centers, and you go there and you're given your standard box of food, which is going to have some macaroni, and then it's going to have some worm-based proteins. And so you're going to have these fake burgers, and you're going to get your kind of box of food, and you're just going to drive up, put it in the car and drive off. And that's going to be part of the benefit of your universal basic income. But now you've got to control this population of idle people. So you're probably going to have some sort of social score that, are you doing the right thing related to the environment? And are you doing the right thing related to these various ways of thinking that seem to be wanting to be forced on people? Okay. Now, I'm not taking a position one way or the other. I like to think and I like to decide what I think, but it seems like what we see happening is just total crushing of our ability to think independently. And if you have universal basic income, then you can force these desired behaviors on people, because what you're going to get in your little goodie box, what you're going to get in your little distribution of food for the week might depend on whether you've been a good digital citizen on social media. And if you are saying the right things, and if you're not saying the wrong things, you're rewarded by what you get in your food distribution box. And so, I talk about worms, eating worms. Actually, you might not know this, but I actually produce grubs, and I produce about 20 to 25 pounds of grubs a day. And the grubs are about this big, and they're very juicy, and they're very fat. They're very high in protein, they're very high in fat, they're very high in calories, and they've got calcium, and it's just this big juicy nugget. Well, man, I could see just grinding those things up, putting some MSG in it and some various flavorings, and man, you would be giving people in their distribution box, you would be giving them these fake hamburgers that are made out of these grubs. Now, I don't eat the grubs. I have the grubs as part of an organic farming operation, but I can just see how easy it is. And in fact, how I grow the grubs, there is like one of the largest breweries in East Africa just a couple of miles from me. And what is an output from beer making, from brewery making? You end up with this brewer's waste, and it is this like sludgy, yeasty, disgusting stuff. And so it is an industrial waste. Brewer's waste is an industrial waste. And here you've got this company making all this beer for people, but then they end up with all of this industrial waste. Well, I can take that industrial waste and I can turn it into grubs. And then from the grubs, I can turn it into eggs. I can turn it into chickens. I can turn it into bacon. I can turn it into all of these different things because it's kind of like the ideal animal food. All right. But you see, I want to do things well and I want to do things right. But if you're in this control kind of matrix, what would maybe be a more likely thing? What is maybe a more likely thing that you would do? You would make food directly out of the worms, and then you would feed it to these displaced people. So what I really see is that a lot of jobs are going to be replaced by AI. AI is going to destroy, even if you keep your job, AI is going to displace so many people, it's going to destroy the demand for your company's products, which then is going to get you that way. And then AI destroys the wealth. And even if a person wanted what you have to offer, they're not able to buy it. So I just see where what we saw with the earlier disruptive technologies, the opportunities outweighed the disruption, and you just generated wealth and opportunities. But I'm getting this uneasy feeling that what we're going to see here is a destruction of wealth, a destruction of opportunity, and the creation of this large segment of the population which has to be kept calm and docile and not go out and riot and burn things. So that, man, I have not been reading the comments, and so I don't know how much hate I'm getting off of these comments. And so you guys now leave some comments. Is this just, this ruins my weekend? I'm in for a bad mood. No, don't. I mean, let's talk about solutions after this. Let's talk about solutions. I've worked all my life and now retired, still missing work. Yeah, I know what you mean there. Help me find hope. Okay. So look, all right, we're going to talk about, let's not sugarcoat what could happen, and let's talk about what we should do right now. Are there any AI tools that can make me understand things better and faster? There probably are. Dystopia always follows utopia. Maybe so, BBF. We agree. So Dustin says people are agreeing. Okay. Heinz says America is way too smart for this, even though it's on a downward spiral right now. The Lord is in control. Yes, God is in control, and we can find hope in that. Revolution, we have nothing to lose but our chains. Okay. So we're getting a little revolutionary talk there. Okay. We need to stop it. I think the CEOs may lay off people who code. Yeah. Coding and engineering could get laid off. I think someone's saying I'm a realist, maybe so. This makes me worried for the future, like college. Okay, guys, it sounds like you're agreeing with me, but it sounds like maybe I've scared you. I fear engineers learning too much on AI to build critical devices without proper review. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be planes crash, there's going to be buildings fall over, there's going to be bridges tumble, because AI does miss that certain element of humanity, that spark of creativity. There's just a spark in a person that doesn't exist. And I think we're going to see some disasters. Okay, question. Did you talk about what you think would happen to software engineer? Yeah. Go back and watch it. I talked about software engineer. Yeah, Boeing, I think some interesting things going on there. Unions are not going to solve this, okay? And some people say, how do we stop it? How do we stop it? Well, what we got to do is, so now, I didn't mean to depress you, but I'm saying I would rather tell you the cold, hard truth that I see. And then let's say, if you want to accept that truth, then the natural question is, what should you do? And what you should do is you should future-proof your career. And if you're young, you really need to be thinking about what career you go into. And if you're in the middle of your career, you need to be prepared. Should I start working now at developing skills that would future-proof my career? Okay, and there was an interesting comment by Dr. Dave earlier, and what his comment was, work with your hands. Okay, work with your hands. And so let's think of the difference. And not everybody can be a dentist, right? But I'm just going to give this example. Let's think of the difference between a general practitioner and a dentist. A general practitioner asks you questions, applies his database, sends you to the lab, and then looks at the result and then maps your problem onto the pharmaceutical matrix. That job could be mostly eliminated by AI. But now let's think about a dentist. You open your mouth and oh my goodness, look at what happened to that tooth. That thing is like this and like this and like this. And maybe no one has ever seen that particular problem, but the human can look at it, figure it out, and then using his hands and his God-given ability to problem solve and can fix that particular unique tooth problems. So it's not just creative. Maybe you could imagine that the computer could generate a hypothetical solution, but it's the touch. You're never going to have a robot that is going to replace a dentist. It's just not going to happen. Now, if you have a grocery store, robots are going to stock the shelves. Maybe robots will do everything. But when you think of something like a dentist that is a sensitive touch type of thing, we're so far away from AI and robotics to ever be able to do that. So a dentist is an example of a very important job that is not going to be replaced. And when you have a toothache, right, when you have a toothache, you're going to do without everything else to get that tooth fixed. Now, not everyone's going to be a dentist. And I'm not saying be a dentist, but I'm saying think about a job like the dentist. Well, let me give you another example, a plumber. In your house, when your toilet is clogged up and you have poo-poo backing up in your toilet, you're going to do without anything else to get that toilet fixed, okay? And a toilet is not something a robot is going to fix. You're not going to have Mr. Robo Plumber who walks in and does it. It's just the mechanical technology is not there for a general purpose robot to do that. And even if it was, the robot would be so expensive, it would be impractical to deploy it on something like cleaning a toilet or fixing a toilet problem. So what I'm saying is think in terms of using your hands for future jobs. What would I mean? A plumber, an electrician, a dentist, okay, a diesel mechanic, a welder, okay? Because if you've ever worked on a car and you open the hood up and there is this nut on a bolt that's rusted, and you can't just brute force that thing off. You'll snap the bolt if you do. You have to finesse it, a little WD-40, maybe a little light touch of a blowtorch, maybe a going back and forth, maybe letting it sit for an hour. But it's like that tooth problem. Getting that rusty nut bolt off to do a car repair is not something that a robot or AI is going to replace. So work with your hands. It can be a professional thing, like a high-end thing, like a dentist. It could be a surgeon. It could be a plumber. It could be a diesel mechanic. It could be a wind farm technician. It could be a copy repair person. But those things that require thought and finesse and touch and handwork, those are going to be the things that AI will not be able to displace. So if you're a young person, I would really seriously think about going into the trades, the 2-year trade schools. Also, if you really wanted to be more in the engineering or more in the high-level career, I think that you would want to work in the energy sector, because the energy sector requires handwork and brain work and paperwork. And so like if you think at the more entry level, no matter what people are going to want to have electricity. And so when there's a storm and the power goes down, you're always going to need linemen. You've got to have linemen. And then you've got to have people doing all the things that keep our grid infrastructure up and running and expanding. And then you think of like the jobs in the solar industry. That's a lot of technical, like electronics, electrician, and construction. That is all very unique. Every job site that you go on is unique. It requires thought and it requires handwork. So man, if someone was going into engineering these days, rather than going into programming or computer science, I would tell them go into power generation and distribution, because I think that those jobs are going to be hard to replace by AI. I think that if you're already mid-career in a programming job, and think about going back to trade school. Think about in the evenings getting certified in plumbing or things like that. You want to think, what are you going to do when they lay me off and I'm put in a pool where there's not huge number of jobs, but there's a million people exactly like me looking for that job that's not there. So think about things that are trades. Now, the other thing is develop your own local business. Okay, develop your own local business. And I see people doing that. Like I see there's market gardeners who are buying 5-acre plots and they're supporting their families based on garden/marketing organically and then selling locally and selling in farmers markets. There's eclectic products that people are making, like artisan breads and soaps and skincare products, and they're making things themselves that they're selling directly to the customers. And maybe we could get sort of a community cottage industry going where we buy and sell amongst ourselves, and we sort of take ourselves out of this corporate government control structure that seems to be developing. And so what I think that the hope that I give you is, first of all, realize that there's a potential problem, a potential major disruption that's coming. And then if you're young, think about these things as far as what career that you want. Like I say, energy sector or the trades are the things that I really see with the most opportunity. Do something where you are working with your hands. If a job involves you in front of a screen, I think it's very likely that you can be replaced by this engine, and then the engine doesn't even need the screen. Okay, so let's see here. Have I just totally, did I give you guys hope at all? Did I give you guys hope at all, or did I just scare you? I'm just throwing this out. So like if I say utopian versus dystopian, cars were utopian, computers and information technology utopian. But now this AI thing, I see at least the potential that it could maybe more likely than the other ones vector off into this dystopian future, because I'm afraid that the wealth crushing of the skill of the AI displacing real people could just really lead to some of these scenarios that I'm talking about. So now, give me some comments, okay? Give me some comments. There will always be a desire to lead and govern from someone. Almost done with trade school. All right, trade school I think is the best thing you can do. Keep going back, getting more certifications, getting more skills in the trades. I think that is good. Do you believe electricity will be reliable enough to keep AI going? Yeah, I think that, like I live in the third world and hey man, we got a super chat there. Thanks a lot, David. Really appreciate that. Means a lot to me. Okay. So, I live in the third world where things are already kind of in a collapse situation, but somehow they manage to pretty much keep the grid up. Okay. So I think that we will have electricity moving forward. Would engineering be good? Yes, Clutch. I would go more into engineering and less into computer science or programming or that sort of stuff. And what I would also do is I would focus engineering more on things where I would think, what can I do that a robot is not going to be able to do? And that's why I love the energy sector. The energy sector, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's solar, whether it's wind turbines, whether it's power distribution, they are always going to need energy. And you have to have guys that can climb poles and guys that can turn a wrench. Okay, that is what I would recommend. I need to head out to the garage. Okay, Brian, we'll see you. Seems to be occurring, has been happening for the last 70 years. Would engineering be good? Yes, I think it would. At this point, I think AI is still nothing more than very fast plagiarism. Okay, VT, that is true. And this is what you got to think about. How does that artwork, that art program generate images of people? How does that generate images of people? It looks at every photograph that was ever taken and it learns what a human is. Hey, wow, Nate, thanks. Really appreciate that. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate the super chats there. and sort of like, they steal a little bit of your humanity. They look at a picture of everyone and then they generate a person. And it's almost like DNA. They took a little bit of your DNA and a little bit of this DNA and they generate a new person. But instead of DNA, they are stealing. They're not stealing your DNA. They're stealing your expression of DNA. Your DNA expression is what you look like, and they're stealing that DNA expression, and then they're creating new mixes of DNA, and they're creating artificial people that look as real people. And so that, to me, is a little bit frightening. And same thing with scraping the GitHub to generate code. They stole just a little bit of my humanity with that little program that I put on there. They took that and then they eliminated me. They took that from me. They took it from everybody, and then they eliminated us. And so I view AI, every single thing of AI training is based on looking at something that a human did. And so it is, in effect, the world's greatest plagiarism, copyright violation, whatever, because it took a little bit from everybody, mixed it up, put it back together, and created something that it claims is new. Okay, let's see. In how many years will AI actually replace the software job? I think it's starting today, and it's just going to ramp up. And there's going to be fewer and fewer programming jobs, and the programming jobs are going to be the elite, those that were able to reach the elite status, which are those very high-end programmers that are doing the algorithms and the deep learning things. And I'm not telling you to chase after that. Because I think there's going to be a lot more people chasing after it than what there's going to be need for it. So I would just move away if it were me. I would go into something that, hey, there we go again. We've got Karthik, thank you very much. Okay, appreciate these super chats. Real encouragement for me. A lot of the stuff large language models come up with are black box solutions. Often they are more convoluted and stupid. So, I mean, yes, it can help speed up software. I'm a data science analyst grad student, and I expect resulting stratification for specializations, but not as much being completely rendered useless. No, I'm not saying there's not going to be any programmers, but I'm saying, used to there was 5 jobs chasing after one good programmer, but now there's going to be more and more programmers chasing after fewer and fewer jobs. So for me, it's not a game that I'm going to want to be playing. Nate says yes to trades, pick up math skills. Yeah, you want, get math skills, get practical skills. Know how to build things, make things, fix things, do things, get practical skills, okay? Yeah, mumblings. I would not want to be a mid-level manager. The people that are really in trouble are the funny cat video watchers. Yeah, I think that they will definitely, the funny cat video people are definitely going to be in this group of people that stop by Walmart to pick up their worm burgers and their pasta and their plastic cheese to go on it. I just spent $100K on a home job shop. Am I heading in the right direction? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Have to go, Peter. Thanks. Is starting to manifest in semi-physical form. That's kind of a metaphysical question there. I don't know how to answer that. I started coding. Yeah, keep coding, but move more to the engineering and the hardware side, and I would move away from coding is what I think I might do. What are your thoughts about going off grid? I am off grid myself. But I'm doing it for other reasons. For me, the grid's down like a third of the time. And so I had a diesel generator. And so I was spending more on diesel than just about anything else. And so financially, being off grid made sense for me with, I think I have about 15,000 watts of solar panels, and I have a lot of batteries, and I'm completely off grid. But it's not because of this dystopian reason. It's just for the practicality of the grid is not reliable here. So I spend a lot of money on diesel. Okay, glad to see the camera clearing up. Okay, what are your thoughts on AI takeover of embedded systems? I think it will move that direction. Okay, am I entirely self-reliant? Well, I grow enough food to feed myself. Okay, but then I have people that work here, and I pay them to work in the gardens, and I pay them to provide security and things like that. And so then if all of a sudden, let's say my ATM didn't work, well, how are those people that are helping me in the gardens, are they going to want to stay here if they're not being paid? So I could feed myself, but could I feed myself without having access to, my Sandia retirement or something like that? That would be a much harder question to answer. Okay, guys, we are coming up on an hour and 15 minutes. I really wish, man, I was talking so much I didn't get a chance to interact with you. If you guys are interested, let's do another live stream where you guys have more of an opportunity to talk. I've sort of said my view. Maybe you guys could think about it, and then we could have another live stream where we sort of had more of a chance to discuss it. And I'm just presenting you one view. The other thing is maybe AI creates opportunity in a way I don't see it, and it becomes the utopia of all utopias. I don't know. But I'm just showing you the analytic process that I go to of how it could lead to a dystopian future. Okay, guys, I really appreciate you guys showing up. And if you're interested in another live stream, leave a comment on this. And I'm going to cut it off now. So you guys enjoy your coffee, share this with other people. We need more people working in hands-on thing, fewer people sitting around watching silly cat videos. Paul McWhorter, toptechboy.com. I am signing off.